in the first year, again, all the branches have the same curriculum. And in the second semester, I was first introduced to programming. We had a session from our seniors where I got introduced to C++. And that was the first time I was introduced to programming and I started learning a language. And throughout the engineering, my journey, what I would say is I have been open to opportunities, and that works really well, I would say, because all these skills that you gain in your journey, if you participate or if you are, if you have any position of responsibility, you get to interact with your seniors and juniors. All these skills, soft skills, they build up, and all these are tested in your interviews or anywhere that you go and apply. People see these, so they are really important. And I didn't know before, but now I can say that I was the department head in the second year and coordinator of the cultural fest in the first year. So you learn a lot from your seniors and you get to interact with them. So I would say that was one of the things that I picked up from my first year itself. In the second year, we have, I'm talking about, like, I'm from computer engineering branch. So I'm talking about that. If you are not from computer or IT branch or not, so these core CS subjects, which are operating systems, database management, all of these, I guess you should prepare because all these subjects are also asked in interviews. So, and the main one is data structures and algorithms that I had in my second year. So data structures and algorithms is the key thing which is asked in the technical interview. It is also tested in your online tests. Data structures and algorithms is, I would mainly stress and focus on it because questions related to that are bound to be asked in your technical interviews. So that I learned in my second year. And apart from that, we had web development, and I was introduced to app development. So these, I learned about these. I did courses, and I also, in my second year, I participated in hackathons. So hackathons are a great opportunity where you, within 24 hours, you build a project and you work in a team. So your teamwork, the skills, all these you learn, and you learn how to, given a problem statement just within a 24 hours, how to come up with a solution, and all these skills also add up. So yeah, that would be the highlight, I guess, for my second year. And we have interviews after second year for the internship in next year. So I interned after my third year. So I guess this will be my engineering journey, and now I will talk about how I applied. So for applying at Google, what I just applied on the Google's career page. Now, if you are planning to, if you want to intern or have a full-time opportunity at these companies, you can check out their career pages. At this time, I guess from May, June, July onwards, they have this option where you can apply for internship roles or for full-time roles. And after that, you have to also upload your resume. Now, resume is very important when you are applying to any company because, so resume, a recruiter looks at your resume for just 6 seconds. So it's very important that you highlight your resume should talk about yourself in a very crisp and precise way. What all have you done, like your education, your projects that you have done, if you have any experience, your positions of responsibility, and your technical skills. So based on the resume screening, you get shortlisted for online tests. And also, so it's for off campus also, if you apply, your resume plays a key role. On campus, mainly you have to directly give the online test. And for Google, I would say the online test was of two DSA questions, two coding questions, and nothing. It was just two coding questions. No other subjects were involved. But for other companies that I have applied, I have seen you have an aptitude test as well, and you have uh, maths related questions, or you have core CS subjects related questions, like you have OOPS and stuff like that. So yeah, and after the online test, you get shortlisted for interviews. Now, for interviews, for Google, I had again only data structures and algorithms was tested. So yeah, and I forgot this. So after my second year, after I had an intro to data structures and algorithms, and I learned that. I also developed an interest with competitive programming. So I used to appear in contests, and that I did it because I enjoyed. But competitive programming also, it's not a must for the interviews, but it gives you an because in competitive programming you appear in contests where you have a certain fixed amount of time, 1 or 2 hours, and you have to solve questions. So to code up your solution in a given time frame, you learn that. So I would say that helped me, because in your interviews you just have 45 minutes. Google car technical interview. There are two technical interviews for internships, and 45 minutes each, and you are asked two medium question or one hard question based on data structure and algorithms. So they see that given a problem statement which you are completely new, how do you first understand it? You should ask questions to them to just clarify everything. How do you explain your approach? That's very important. How you talk about it. So if you are, if you are a good coder, you know how to code, but if you cannot explain your approach, what you are doing, then that doesn't go really well. If you just code the entire solution, but you're not able to put your point across. So yeah, so whenever you are, even first, I would say that you start with simpler approach, then you build up and optimize your solution, and always try to think out loud. Even when you're coding, try to talk about what all steps you are doing, why you are doing something. Talk about corner cases. Ask if if the input is changed, what all cases I'm covering. So all these skills are very important for the interviews. And I had also applied on campus, and I got an offer from Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs interview procedure was like they not only asked data structures and algorithms, they also asked about operating systems or database management questions. And at the end, we also had the HR round. This interview for HR is basically you're given situational based questions, and they see how you what you will do in these situations. So yeah, and in this for HR, it's mainly your soft skills and your understanding how you deal with problems. So all these are the things which are for the interviews, I would say. And after that, my interviews, I gave two technical interviews after a month or two. If you are applying off campus, the procedure is generally a bit, I would say it is slower. If it's on campus, you just get the results within a day. So yeah. So and yeah, after 1 month, I guess I got the offer, and I had to intern, and I interned this summer, which was of 2.5 months, I would say, my internship. And my internship experience is again, it was amazing, I would say, because when you actually work for an organization, or you realize how different it is when you work for your college projects or you work in a group of college, because over here you are actually working at production level or at that scale. And I would say internships are very important. Even if you don't, intern at your dream company or a very good company, after your third year, having an internship experience, it gives you a chance to, work within the corporate. So you know how they, what is the methodology they follow, how you are supposed to, report to your project manager, and how are you supposed to take tasks. So that experience also helps you. And when you are further applying for full-time offers, because that happens in this after your third year. So even then, your internship experiences help. If you are in your after your second year in the summer break you have, you can apply internships at startups or to freelancing. Even I did that, and I interned and I made a Flutter application, which was a very small startup. But when I was interning there, I realized how actually projects work, because if we are in a group of college, if we are a college group and we participate in hackathons, or we are making a project for our semester, we know how much jugaad we do in just finishing up the project or getting to it. But when you are actually making a product which is going to be used by people, or which is a internship or a client level project, you realize how important it is that all your features and functionalities work. When it is scaled, things don't break up because you had put in some jugaad and you made it a work for a hackathon or something. So that exposure you only get when you intern somewhere or when you do a project for a client, I would say. Clients have expectations, they change demands and everything. They change the, what all is required. So that exposure also you get, how you interact with them, how you negotiate, what features are actually practical and possible, what is beyond the scope. So all this you get. And lastly, you get a project, an actual project that you can put into your resume or that you can talk about somewhere. So yeah. And that was again my internship experience. After that, my internship ended on 6th of August, and our campus placements had started earlier. So I had to apply. I applied on campus as well. I, yeah, I applied on campus as well, and I got an offer from Goldman Sachs, again for full time. And Google ka PPO I heard again 2-3 weeks later. So if you get an internship at a good company, now the advantage is this year I have seen with most of my friends that there are high chances that you get the conversion offer and you get the pre-placement offer directly. So if it's any company that you like or it's good enough and you just get an internship there, that will be an advantage. Having said that, it's not like if you just don't find the perfect company, then you cannot, actually work for your full-time interviews and get into a good company later. But internship will definitely give you an advantage anywhere. If your dream company or the company that you like is the best, because there are high chances you get pre-placement of it. So yeah, I guess that's it. And after that, so I'm in my final years. That's still going on. That's been my journey.
Okay, one question is there, Reem.
Yeah.
Actually, you are having most of the skills that the ideal coder should have, that is C++, Python, and all. But most of the students are mostly confused with the preference to learn that language and also such software too. So, can you elaborate your journey to means when you started and how you manage your learning those languages and tools?
Okay. For programming language, I would say that In my case, I was first introduced to C and C++. So I familiarized myself mostly with C++, and that was my primary language. I only know the basics of Java, but for if you're starting with programming or for this role, I would say that you don't need to master all the programming languages. You will get an option where you can list what is your preference of language. I would say that if you have one, I would say you have one primary language which you are most comfortable and confident in, that if you are asked any question or if you have to solve any problem, any DSA problem or coding problem, you are comfortable with one particular language. And it doesn't matter which one it is. It can be C++, it can be Java, it can be Python, even Ruby, Sharp, anything. But if you're confused and what to choose, I would say it's good if you go with the popular one and common one, which are mostly available in all platforms, which is either C++ or Java or Python. Again, within these three, C++ and Java have more depth in terms of hooks or language specific questions when they are asked. So if you know either C++ or Java, I am not saying you need to know both of them, but yeah, any one of them, if you are strong and comfortable with, that is enough. And if you say your language is C++ or Java, in the interviews you also might be asked questions which are language specific, like pointers in C++, or if you they can ask you OOPS related question. OOPS is again very important, object oriented programming. That is, you can expect questions on that. And yeah, this is for programming. And if you say web development, then if you know some frameworks, it's no such rule that you need to know like multiple frameworks or you should be comfortable with multiple, because in interviews they don't actually they don't expect you to know. Even if you are applying at a company where they use certain software and you don't know, it's okay, it's completely fine. Because whenever you get selected for a role, there will be a period where you will be trained. They actually want to know that if you're strong with your concepts, that is DSA, and your skills, with those skills, you can learn any software that comes your way, basically. And they look at projects because they see if you can develop something. It doesn't need to be any framework specific or any tool specific. In my case, I had a website, a project that was in Flask, so I was familiar with Python, and I had an app which was in Flutter, so the framework language was Dart. Yeah, and I had again another application in Django. So yeah, a few frameworks only. I would not say I've mastered many frameworks or I'm very proficient in that.
Actually, we are having number of questions for you. So shall we go for the Q&A?
Yeah, we can go for it.
Okay, the very first question is from Asit. He is asking what was more difficult, getting selected or doing the internship?
Yeah, I would say that now it is. I guess it would vary from student to student, person to person. For my case, honestly, I didn't expect that I would get an offer from Google. Yeah, I didn't expect. I was thrilled to know that I am shortlisted for interviews, and I prepared very seriously, very hard. For 1 month, I just did DSA because I know that only that was asked. So on and interviews, if you uh, ask me the difficulty of the interview, I won't say it was very difficult. I was asked questions which were, one was easy, two were medium. So yeah, and interviews are also, I would say that it is like, okay, 80% is your hard work, but then the last 20% is luck. I have seen it, and if you get an interviewer, I don't know it again varies from interviewer to interviewer. If your interviewer is, sometimes you don't get a very friendly and good interviewer. It's luck based, I would say, the selection. And so I didn't expect. So that was, in a way, I worked very hard, but at the end, the result was a surprise for me. And the internship, I would say, it was challenging. It was not easy, I would say. It was challenging, uh, but they wherever you intern, mostly they provide you with enough resources, enough help. If I was stuck somewhere, I knew what who all people I can reach out to, and they were my mentors to help me. So I would say the preparation was the most crucial part where I prepared for the internship to get into it. Internship was challenging, but you will have enough support, I would say, to push you through the internship. And again, performing in an internship well is also a thing you should keep in mind. Throughout my internship, I tried to give my best at all points because I actually wanted a people from that company. The chances of getting selected in a company that are, I guess, rare, or that point, I would say it's you cannot do anything about it with that perspective.
Okay, one
Okay,
more
so
question from the Prasad here.
we have one question above his question by Aditya. He's asking, Google recruiter said that they only care about the coding skills. Everything else you can learn by searching things on Google. Is this true?
I would say what everything else, like if it's if it's framework specific or any tools or anything that you can learn by searching it on Google. And that's what I did in my internship. My what my project was, it was in C++, but it was development level C++, which I hadn't done before. So all this can be learned, and that's true if a recruiter has said that, because they look at your coding skills, your your problem solving skills, more to be more precise, your problem solving skills. And for Google, I would say that throughout their interview process, I they only ask problems, DSA questions, and they see your coding skill. Have you solved that? They don't ask others, core CS subject related. All that I have highlighted is for other companies because they looked at. And I have seen, because all the companies that came to my campus, and I had seen my friends, like it's Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, then Deutsche Bank, SAP Labs, a lot of companies, they ask questions which are CS subject related as well. So I listed them. But for Google, it's only problem solving skills. Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
again,
next question.
one more
Yeah,
thing,
go ahead.
if it's full time, if you are applying for full time and you get selected for interviews, you also have one round which they call for Googliness, which is an HR round. So generally expect an HR round at the end, where they ask you situational based questions. That wasn't the case for internship, but it is there for full time with me. And for other companies, they generally have the last round as the HR.
Okay, so next question is from Prasad. He's asking, what type of projects are included in your resume?
Yeah, so in my resume, what projects I have, it's one or two hackathon projects, which I also added in achievements because our team had won a few hackathons. So that hackathon projects, then personal projects also you can add, I guess. I'm not sure if I have a personal project in my resume. I had one freelancing project, which was for a client. And yeah, if you have done any internship, and if it's open source, or if you're wherever you have done the internship, your manager should approve that you write about that project, which is very normal. They generally do. So if you have any internship freelancing projects, you can add those. I had those. Had the hackathon project and personal projects as well. Also, it's not necessary to have many projects, like 5 to 6 projects. If you have just 2 projects, minimum two to three projects, it's enough for that to be on a resume. Having said that, if you are on a development side and if you are more inclined towards development than only coding and computer programming, then you can go for multiple projects. Like even then, 4 projects is enough. But in your interviews, you can talk about your projects more. So that shows your interest in development, and if you are very good with that, you can do that.
Okay, so we are having number of questions, but I'll take some important questions only. So next question is from Gaurav. He's asking which resources to follow to learn DSA and language, and for practice the questions, which coding site to follow.
Yeah. A language, if you for C++, I can say Java, I don't know, but language specific, you can what I did was any topic that I didn't understand, I looked up for videos on YouTube. Yeah, because I'm a video person. I don't prefer reading books and stuff, but there are books also. For practicing, I would say Geeks for Geeks for articles and the solution to problems. Geeks for Geeks has a very detailed approach. They have explained and they explain, and the time complexity and analysis is also there. So Geeks for Geeks. For practicing and solving coding questions, I would say Interview Bit and Lead Code. Yeah, these two I had practiced on. Interview Bit, if you see, it has they have they have a flow chart and they have listed all topic wise questions, so you can solve that. Lead Code has most common interview questions, easy, medium, hard in different categories. So yeah, that. And there are other sites as well, HackerEarth, HackerRank. For competitive programming, I participate in contests on Code Forces and Code Chef. Yeah. There are multiple sites. If I would say you can just even Geeks for Geeks has practice section where you can solve coding questions, DSA questions. If you are preparing, I would say just find one site which you are particular site and follow the entire flowchart, solve topic wise all questions. I would say for firstly, I just solved interview bit actually, topic wise.
Okay, question from Aditya. He's asking, is Goldman Sachs look for a good CGPA?
CGPA. Okay, I actually missed this point. CGPA. So if a company comes to campus, they generally have, some of the companies do, some of the companies don't. Goldman Sachs, I don't remember if there was any cutoff. I would say there might be a cutoff. Some companies have a seven CGPA ka cutoff. Some have 8. 8 is again very rare, but yeah, some of the companies do. So I would say from the CGPA point of view, it may differ for your college. So just check once. And overall, I would say it's always a good thing to maintain a good CGPA. If you are looking for cutoffs, I would say throughout it's recommended and it's best if you have a CGPA above 8. Yeah, above 8. If you have, then you won't be rejected from the CGPA only for any company, as far as I know. Having an extremely good CGPA doesn't guarantee or doesn't say that you might or might not get selected for a company. They don't look directly at your CGPA.
Okay, from your resume, I see you have participated in most of your extracurricular activities in college. So would you like to specify some of this?
Yeah, extracurricular, as I said, throughout my engineering, I I was very open to opportunities, and I didn't say no, like I won't do this, I won't do that, because you explore a lot, uh, even in those domains and about yourself as well. Because in my first year, I was department coordinator of the cultural fest, and before that, I didn't know that I can have this position of responsibility and lead a team. So that was a position of responsibility in my culture, in for the cultural fest that I did in my first year as well as in my second year. And don't feel that you should only concentrate on studies and improve your pointer. That can go in side by side. It's manageable, and to participate in all the, if you have clubs, because my college had a technical club, cultural club. So yeah, and because of these, you get to interact with your seniors, and I feel seniors are the most good. It's the best thing about engineering college experience, I would say, because you learn a lot from that, more than you learn from your teachers, I would say. So, and then I had for extracurricular, yeah, I play badminton. So I was in the badminton team, my college ka badminton team, and yeah, we had this community of coders. We have coding club in our college. So I, in my it's for the first years they organize workshops. So I attended workshops, and in my second year I was a part of that coding community, where we teach our juniors programming language or web development. So we have workshops which we organize for our juniors. So in that, you know, when you teach a concept to somebody, you understand it more better. Uh, yeah, you understand it better, and you it becomes a lot clearer because you have to answer all the questions if someone asks you. So because of that, also my some of my concepts are very strong because I had to teach it to my juniors. So I was part of the coding community. In the
Okay.
first year, I attended all the sessions and workshops of all the technical sports. So first year, I would say be open to everything that's coming. Like I'm not saying participate in each and everything, but just give it a try. Maybe you gain interest, and if you never know what will add up to your skills or help you, whom you will meet. And
Okay. A very good question from Hemant, actually. Recruiters basically look for the uniqueness in the candidate and rank them according to that. So, what do you think made you stand out and help you get such massive package, and how we can to stand out from the crowd and achieve something similar like you?
how you present yourself, that is very important. And with this, I didn't mention it before, but in all your interviews, the first thing they generally ask about is, tell me about yourself question. So you have to introduce yourself, you have to pitch in. So that is a very important thing, very crucial thing as well, because at that, the recruiter might hardly know about you, and in those 1 or 2 minutes what you say about yourself can actually drive your interview in certain way. So I would suggest that you prepare it beforehand, because it might seem very normal thing, like if someone asks you, tell me about yourself, you can easily say, but at the time of interview, you might fumble. It is, again, interviews are, for me, I would say I'm always nervous before interview. So prepare it beforehand, whatever you're going to say for this. And when you, like, I used to highlight, like, what all extracurricular also I've done. I used to highlight my technical skills, how I manage academics and other things as well. If you say you are a problem solver, or you have interest in computer programming, you do that. So they might ask you questions related to more on problem solving, because in my case I didn't actually want more focus on core CS subjects. I wanted more focus on DSA. But if you are into development, and if you say that you have in your intro itself that you are interested in development and you have done multiple projects, So, you can expect follow-up questions on that, and they might, want to know more about what are your development skills and what all applications you have developed. So, yeah, the intro is very important, and when they ask you questions, maybe TSA problems or any question that you don't know answer to. So, in an interview, if you don't know something or you are finding it difficult, then look at how you deal with that. Because if you just lose your confidence and you panic, or from your expressions or the way you carry yourself in a situation where you don't know stuff, that is also very important to keep your confidence at a level, to be calm and composed and deal with something and try to come up with a solution even if you don't. All these things, I would say, your interviewer, they see, and it's very important how you carry yourself, how you answer to questions, because it's not always that you might be able to solve, or you might be able to present the best solution that is there. So
Okay, some students are asking for having a direct talk with you. So be open the meet for all. So you can unmute and ask your queries with us. One by
yeah.
one, you can raise your hand and I will take a name and you can ask me. Shubhankar Pandey, you can talk.
Thank you. I would just want to ask that if GSOC participation is valued in such companies or not, because GSOC is just it's a mentorship program, right? So is it valued in the companies like Google?
Yes, I would say, like, I haven't applied or participated in GSOC, but if you have anything like GSOC, you have participated or might, that would actually add, it will be a good to have. And yeah, I won't say that the decision will be completely affected by it, but yeah, it's a good thing to have, and it would be a plus point to have it on your resume. Having said that, anything like there is developer students club, it's there in my college, or any fellowship program that you have participated in, any hackathon, all these things do add up, and it is a plus point to have on the resume. Also, it gives you an opportunity, when you are asked about your projects to describe, you can highlight and you can talk about that you have participated or had the experience.
Okay, hope you got the answer. One question in the chat box. How can non-CSE and IT person or the students can look forward to get through the Google or top software companies, and how one should prepare or learn from the scratch? Means the branches like core branches like mechanical, civil. So how they approach for such companies? How should they approach?
So uh, generally, like even in my college, EXTC or electronics, now they don't have the curriculum same as CSIT. So I have seen my friends from other branches, what they do is they, in the vacation or uh, side by side, they start, they whatever the CS curriculum is, every sem they take that also, and they follow, and they try to learn the core CS subjects, I would say. That is operating systems, database management, computer networks. All this they try to learn. If you are from the interviews point of view, I would say if you are not from a CSC IT background, first thing is it is the same like learning a programming language if you are starting right from scratch. So intro to programming, and choosing one language. If you are just confused, choose between C++ and Java, I would say. If you have any other, then yeah, one programming language. Uh, Learning thoroughly that, and being confident that you'll be able to write a program in that language. After you learn a particular language, then you can move on to data structures and algorithms. So for the coding point of view, and for DSA also, you have good playlists on YouTube One that I know and I have referred is Abdul Bari. So he has a playlist on YouTube which is for algorithms, I guess. Yeah. And even when you are doing DSA, go step by step, like learn one data structure, understand it, try solving problems on that, and then move on to another data structure. And after you do data structure, then move on to algorithms, sorting, searching, step by step. After you are, you have done the DSA part, then move on to, you can try competitive programming, or you can practice questions on interview bit or lead code. This is completely the programming track for applying to companies. And if you are completely not from CSIT, some knowledge on core CS subjects, I would say it's good to have, because if you are asking a question like this, I'm assuming that you will try to apply in multiple companies. Don't specify that you will only apply in one company. So, and for different companies, what I did was, before the interview or before the test, study about that company, read archives, where the people who have interviewed there before or got selected have written down their experience. So from their interview experience, you can have an idea how generally this particular company asks questions and what all do they cover. So this is at the very end, but from the beginning, I would suggest that prepare for core CS subjects as well as this programming.
Yeah, Karthik here. You can ask your question.
Good morning, ma'am. So I was keen to knowing that as I am in my second year, I am not as proficient as anyone in my class in any of the languages. So what should be my path for getting an internship at Google? So can you just make a way clear for me?
You said any which language?
Uh, in none of the language, I'm not as proficient as any of my classmates in C or C++.
Okay, so you can actually, C++, you can start with the basic, like the things what you study in C++. Like, I think if you don't feel confident about a language, you can always, step by step, you can learn about that language. Like C++, we have arrays, then if else loop, do while loop, then conditionals, then pointers. You can find it on Geeks for Geeks or somewhere, and try topic by topic. If any topic you think you're not comfortable, first watch videos on YouTube. This is what I do. After that, try writing code by yourself, or first look at the solutions that are on Geeks for Geeks, and just stick to one language. Don't try to try Java also, try Python also. First stick to C++, and if you are in your second year, you can with the basic quickly, in some days only, I would say, just go through videos and topic wise C++ ke sare topics, and then you start with data structures and algorithms. When you learn about data structures and algorithms, try implementing each data structure in that language, C++. Try coding it. And everything is available on Geeks for Geeks. So if you get stuck somewhere, you can look at it. And what I do is, whenever I look at 2 or 3 videos of one particular topic on YouTube, then the topic becomes easier for me to understand. Because I've heard it repeatedly, and someone is teaching me the same thing again and again in different ways. So yeah. Also, you can for problem solving, I used to do that. If you have a group of friends or 2 or 3 of them, and you are preparing for interviews, or you are solving problems together, it's easier to discuss with them, because they are also preparing and they are also solving problems regularly. So, and one problem you might get and your friend might not, and another they might get. So you can explain to each other, discuss, and when you explain your approach or when you discuss or when your friend explains something to you, it's always easier to understand. So yeah, you can meet cohort and discuss.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Aditya, you can ask.
Hello, hello, ma'am. Nowadays, there is a lot of controversy on CP versus development. What is your opinion on it?
See now, people generally, tend to move towards either competitive programming or either development because they are more interested in one of the two. In my case, I enjoy both. Like I have tried CP also, and I still do sometimes. I participate in contests and development also. I have done, like as I said, hackathon. So for me, I don't have a specific preference. Like I won't say that one is better over other. Neither do I practice one more than other. So yeah, I'm not. But it again depends on student to student. If someone is finding something more interesting, and if someone finds that I am more good at something and I enjoy doing that more, you can have a preference. From the interviews point of view, now CP is not CP doesn't equal DSA. DSA is problem solving. CP is problem solving, but the questions are different. So for the interviews, it's not must to do CP. Even if you're doing CP or development, for interviews you need to do DSA, problem solving. So yeah, I don't have preference.
Okay.
Okay, someone is asking that does the branch matter while getting a internship in the computer science area?
Actually, it shouldn't matter, but like certain companies that come to my campus, they have this key, they only want to interview students from circuit branches. Very rare, but there are one or two or very few companies, they say that we want to hire only from CS and IT branch. Generally, they extend it to circuit branches, which is CS, IT, electronics, EXTC. Now, all this is mainly when the company comes to campus. If you are applying off campus, then I don't think they are very particular about the branch. Uh, like mostly, I'm not sure about non-circuit branches, but if it's a circuit branch, CSIT, EXTC, electronics, electrical, they will be more they will look more for your resume and what all you have done. So, and when you are not from a CSIT branch, I would say it becomes more important for you to have a very strong resume and other things because you don't have the branch. So you if you have other things which highlight that your interest and your knowledge about this computer related things like development, cognitive programming, projects, courses, certificates, then there are chances they won't just discard it. They will look at your resume and you will have it equal and enough chance of this. And again, if you're non CSIT branch, certificates and courses ka certificates, it's very good. If you have that on your resume, it shows that you have actually studied and you have a proof. You have a certificate in some of the courses. So you can add that also.
Okay. So anyone having, yes, Sakshi is having one. Please unmute Anna.
Yes, hello. Have one question that how must be someone's approach when you are not able to answer the question in an interview? So if I'm not able to optimize my solution and if it is a DSA question, I am not able to optimize it, how must be my approach? May I try it more or tell the interviewer that I'm not able to optimize it?
Uh, uh, so for if you are asked a question, I would start from scratch. If I am asked a question, I always start even if I know, even if I don't know, in any case, I start from the brute force approach, the simplest approach. I always explain that. And I ask those clarifying questions just to know that I have understood the question correctly. Even when you say brute force solution, the recruiter and you have an understanding that you know the question. After that, if I, I always try to optimize. If I'm not being able to optimize, what I generally do is and what anyone should do, because you should listen to what your recruiter says. Your recruiter, not your recruiter, your interviewer. Your interviewer will, they will give you hints, and whatever they are saying, listen to that very carefully, because they try to give you hints, or they try to, you know, uh, give you the direction where you might not be going, and always think out loud. So in my Goldman Sachs interview only, the first question that they asked me, I wasn't able to give the best of it. So I just whatever I'm thinking, I try to frame it and I try to put it into words to let my interviewer know that I'm thinking in this direction. And generally they give you hints, and I just try to to take those hints and include what they are suggesting in my solution to at least go better than the brute force. Not the best optimized, but at least something. And step by step, like if you can try to break the question and try for certain case, and then you can build up the solution. Now some people say that you can ask for hints, or you can tell that you don't know. Like, this is my personal preference. I never ask for hints. Like, I don't say samne se ki give me hint, yaar, give me hint, give me something I'm not getting. I just always try talking about what I'm thinking and they give, because I feel the interviewer is there to know how I solve a problem and not ask for hints. So I generally don't ask for hints, but it's okay. Like, just keep trying. That's what I do. And don't stay silent for a long time, because if you are thinking and you're not saying anything, your interviewer doesn't know what you are thinking. So that 1 minute, like, you can ask like 1 minute, I want to think. But after that, don't keep silences for too long. Like 2 minutes, you are just thinking and your interviewer is looking at it. That I won't suggest. And also, it's okay if you don't, finally don't reach to the best solution. Your interviewer will just see how you dealt with that in that period, what you did, to be confident and talk about whatever you are thinking. So
Yeah. Someone is asking that have you done any courses from the Google before the internship?
like courses specific to like Google certified courses, are you talking about that?
Yeah, specified to Google.
No, actually, like, for the courses and certificates, what I had added was just I had done this deep learning specialization का course on Coursera. So uska certificate I had added, and apart from that, I didn't do any Google specific course. I did Google Cloud, but that wasn't before my interviews. I did it later. They don't actually see that if you are applying to any company, they don't see that you have done that company's course. Uh, any relevant skills ka course if you have done that.
Okay, actually, I think we covered most of the relevant questions with you. Uh, anyone want to ask directly with her? You can unmute and speak. Yes, anyone?
Hello,
Yeah, hello.
how did you prepare DSA?
Yes. For DSA, after I was comfortable with C++, so in my college, like, for computers, they generally have, and I had a subject in my third semester. Yes, third semester. So for DSA, and we had a good teacher. So our ma'am taught us. So that was my first thing for DSA. Apart from that, Abdul Bari ka playlist on YouTube. I have referred to that, and then for the code and for the approach as well, uh, I look at articles of GFG, right? GFG's Geeks for Geeks. So yeah, Abdul Bari's playlist, Geeks for Geeks, and for solving problems, Hacker or HackerRank. But mainly Geeks for Geeks and YouTube.
Okay, I think we are done with the questions. Sorry, I want to let you know that we enjoyed your talk. I actually want to thank your college faculties too, because within a very short period of time, they connected our TNP cell with you. And as it says, there is no ending for the improvement. That's why we, the TNP cell, are arranging such talks with the students every possible Saturday. So hope all the students are enjoying it.